Okay, so just an FYI, don't mind those bottles, they're literal decor. And sorry for the background noise, nothing I can do about it.
Pretty young girl from Zambia, you know that she ain't with the drama. Light skinned girl Osama, you know she the bomb, she cause trauma.
Hey guys, welcome back or welcome to my channel. Hi, my name's Nyemba and I create YouTube content which you should subscribe to. Okay, so welcome to a new video. As I told you guys in one of my recent videos, I've become such a little like bookworm again, and so I want to explain to you guys, or tell you more I guess, on how I got back into reading, and also give you a review of the books that I've read this year so far. So yeah, if you're into such, or you just want to watch for the sake of watching and supporting me, then I hope you like it. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Those really help me out and let me know and let YouTube know that you like the content that I'm producing. Share this video with somebody, and of course subscribe. Enjoy. Getting right into it, here are 10 ways that I got back into reading. Number 1, I simply made the decision to. Literally, it's as simple as that. I told myself I wanted to get back into just, you know, reading, not just reading to learn things, reading for fun. And yeah, so the first thing you need to do is decide that you want to get back into reading, or you want to start reading more, or get into reading if you're not a reader. But for me, I used to love reading in like elementary, middle school, not so much high school, but high school as well. But then I like fell off the older I got, but now I'm like, I'm getting back into it. So yeah, I just made the decision to. Number 2, come up with a tangible plan. By tangible plan, I mean tell yourself you're gonna read, whether it's a book a week, a book a month, a book every 2 weeks, whatever it is. For me, I decided that I would start with a book a month. I've actually been doing so well with that. I've been reading more than 1 book a month, but I guess when you get into momentum, it's like it's hard to stop, you know, because you actually enjoy what you're doing. Start off with whatever it is. If it's 1 book every 2 months, whatever it is, set yourself like a tangible plan or a tangible goal. Number 3, start off by reading books you actually like. And this also ties into number 4, which is read genres you're actually interested in. So yeah, don't read books just because, oh, they're popular on BookTube or Book Talk, and that's, if you don't know, like book reviews and recommendations from YouTube and TikTok, or even books that I overhype. Like, I'll only share books that I genuinely like, and if I don't like a book, I'll tell you that. But then at the end of the day, you have to decide for yourself what books you do like and what you don't like. So don't be forced to read things just because they're popular. Read genres and books you're actually just genuinely interested in. For me, that's anything to do with self-help, kind of financial stuff as well. Like, I read Think and Grow Rich, and I haven't read Rich Dad Poor Dad yet, but yeah, I read Think and Grow Rich. That's like finance, I guess. When it comes to fiction, I'm into like romance and stuff. I'm not gonna go read sci-fi just because so-and-so on YouTube said that sci-fi is their favorite and they enjoyed whatever book it was. No, like, I'm gonna probably just stick to my romance fiction, even though I'm open to trying out new genres and stuff. But to get myself back into reading, I should only read what I like to read, if that makes sense. Number 5, it really helps to reread one of your favorite books. For me, one of my favorite books of all time is this book right here called You Are a Badass: How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life by Jen Sincero. I used to say Sincero, but she's Italian, I think, so it's Sincero. This book right here, I can read and reread and reread after that. I've literally read it like 3 times already, so I knew that coming into this year, if I wanted to get back onto my reading grind, I needed to start with a book I really liked, that I've read countless times, that I know will not disappoint me, and for me, it was this one. Number 6 is start off by reading a really good fiction book. I recommend fiction just because it takes you away. Like, Other genres don't do what fiction does. Like with self-help, as much as I love reading self-help and I love like bettering myself and all that, learning new things, there's just nothing quite like a fiction book if you want to just get back into loving reading. And I think fiction is like the perfect way to do that. Okay, I'm done raising my hands now, but number 7 is keep a log of your reading. So whether that's on Instagram stories and you have a highlight of the books you read, or just a list in your notes of the books you read, or if you're like me and you're now on Goodreads or you've been on Goodreads, then yeah, you pretty much keep a log of what you're reading. That way it's kind of like a habit tracker, where when you see it, you just feel more accomplished, and the more accomplished you feel, the more you want to like hit more goals, basically, the more you're gonna read. I found that keeping a log has kept me kind of like on my toes, kind of held me accountable, you know? Some people DM me like, oh, what book are you reading now, or what book are you gonna read next, and all of that, and it's just like, oh my god. I don't know, it just keeps me on my feet, I guess, and just keeps me on track ultimately, because I'm like, okay, I need to keep this momentum going, you know? But ultimately, obviously I do it for myself, but it's just a way to hold yourself accountable. Number 8 is to dedicate reading time in your day. It's easy to say, I'm so busy, I don't have time to read, but usually we have the time. That's the thing. Even as an adult, as busy as you can get, you have the time if you create the time. So if you want to prioritize reading, dedicate time in your day to read, whether that means having to wake up a bit earlier so you read for 30 minutes before leaving to work, or 30 minutes before your kids get up if you have kids, or late at night when everyone's asleep, whenever it is during your lunch break. I don't know when's best for you, but just putting it in your schedule that whatever time is reading time helps so much. For me, I put reading time as 9 p.m. on my calendar or in my schedule, but I usually read whenever. But for the fact that I would sit down to read at 9 p.m. all the time and I had a reminder pop up, it still pops up even though I don't really read at 9 p.m. I would stick to it. Over time it just became a habit where I know that almost every day I'm reading, so I don't really even need a reminder to read. That was a mouthful. But yeah, it's important to just simply allocate time. Tip number 9 is putting your phone on do not disturb or on silent or on one of the focuses. If you have an iPhone, I don't know how Androids work, but on iPhone we now have this focus thing where you have like do not disturb, your personal focus, work, sleep. You can add focuses if you want. You can add a reading focus. So then you choose whose notifications are coming through during that time. If not, you're receiving calls, whatever. For me, I usually put it on the personal focus because my settings on the personal focus are I can receive calls from anyone, but no notifications will pop up, and that just helps me focus because pretty much no one calls me. So I know that if a phone call comes through, then it's important, but the text can wait no matter who they're from. When I'm reading, and I want no disturbances. Okay? Okay. And if putting your phone on like silent or do not disturb or whatever still doesn't do it for you, if you keep picking it up to check it every 2 seconds, and I recommend literally putting it somewhere you can't reach. Or if you need to put it in a different room, put it in a different room. Just do what you gotta do in order to focus. And my final tip is to use a Pomodoro timer. That word is so funny. Pomodoro. So basically what a Pomodoro timer is, it's a 25-minute timer. No, it's a timer that uses 25-minute work spaces and 5-minute breaks. So you could literally go on YouTube and type in Pomodoro timer and it would just time you. So you basically go for 25 minutes, whether you're doing homework, actual work from your job, or you're reading like I use it for. You do 25 minutes straight. When the timer goes off, you take a 5-minute break, so you check your phone, do whatever you have to do, then another 25 minutes, depending on how long you want to read anyway. I usually do 3 25-minute chunks. So that's a little over an hour worth of reading. And I find that's like substantial time for me. And it actually goes by so fast, you'd be shocked. But yeah, they have an app for it in the App Store that I recently downloaded. And it's just easier for me than like using YouTube. But yeah, on YouTube, there's cute ones as well. If you want like cute aesthetic ones, if you want ones with like music in the back, or you just want silent ones, like you get to choose. But yeah, Basically, this is the app that I have, so it's set at 25 minutes. You can adjust the time if you want, but the standard is 25 minutes. So you press play and it just starts counting you down. When the 25 minutes is up, a 5-minute break timer is gonna come up. You guys get the gist. It just helps with focusing, and that's what you need if you're trying to read a book. Okay, now moving on to the books that I have read so far this year, starting with the first one, which is You're a Badass. Like I've already mentioned, this book has my heart, basically. It's so good. This was the first ever self-help book I read, and I literally made a whole video about it. Actually, I'll put it up here in the thingy, in the cards. Well, it wasn't about the book, but like it really tied into it. It was a video of me talking about the law of attraction, and I mentioned how this book just helped me get into that law of attraction mindset. But I literally can't recommend it enough. If you're trying to get into self-help, I definitely recommend reading this book first. It's amazing. For me, this is a 5-star book. Period. The next book I read was It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I don't have the book with me right now because Musha's reading it, but that was the first fiction book I read in God knows how long. Probably like maybe 5 years. Maybe 5 years. I'm not even kidding. Like, it's been that long, and I quite enjoyed it. It's one of those that was like pulling on your heartstrings. Like, your emotions are here, there, and everywhere. It's one of those books that was like quite overhyped, so I was kind of like, okay. And I also said in a vlog when I got it that TikTok made me buy it. So I was like, okay, let's see what it's about. And obviously the cover is like pink and pretty. I see pink and I'm like, ooh. So yeah, I got it and I really enjoyed it. It was a good way to get back into reading fiction. That was the first ever Colleen Hoover book I read, and her storytelling is just impeccable. Like, it's so good, and I just really enjoyed it. And for me, it was a 5-star book as well. Okay, so don't mind the location change. Gotta do what you gotta do when you have a toddler in the house. So moving on. The third book I read, well, technically listened to, but I guess read, was Holier Than Thou by Jackie Hill Perry. And with this book, honestly, I don't have much to say about it for the simple fact that I was zoning out, basically. The thing with Jackie Hill Perry is, like, first of all, she's a poet, so she's automatically gonna be deep and using big words. And then the style of her writing I found is like quite dense, so it was a lot for me to basically process. And in the form of an audiobook, no, it wasn't the greatest for me. The thing with audiobooks is I love them if I've read the book before maybe, and then I just need to like remember what I read pretty much. But for the fact that it was the first time I was listening to the book, I was just zoning out coming back. And yeah, overall though, it is a good book. It's a Christian book literally explaining God's holiness. And the two things I got from that book were, number one, who needs a golden calf when you have the living God? And she was basically going on about like the story of Moses and the Israelites and the golden calf and stuff. You have to read the Bible for that to really understand it, but if you know that story, then you know what I'm on about. The second thing that I learned is how it's hard to explain like the holiness of an infinite God to like the finite mind. So yeah, but overall I feel like I would rate it like 3.5 stars out of 5, just for the simple fact that I didn't consume most of it. I want to say, like, I definitely want to get like the physical copy or like the soft copy so I can read it for myself instead of listen to it, because like I said, I was zoning out. Next book I read was this one, Atomic Habits by James Clear. You guys have probably seen this book somewhere on the internet. This book is worth all the hype. Worth all the hype. I'm not even joking. It is so good. Like his writing style, just the way he breaks down the book, he just makes it so easy to understand what he's on about, which he's on about building better habits. An easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. Like, this isn't just your, oh, do this instead of doing this. It's a literal manual. This book I will definitely have for life, because even if I ever lose the copy, I will repurchase it. If I have to, I will purchase it for people. Like, it's such a good book and I cannot recommend it enough. This is probably the best self-help book I've read so far. Like, I love You're a Badass and everything, but this one is very, very practical and I love that so much. If there's one self-help book I would say you need to read if you're really trying to better yourself and better your habits, it is this one. 5 stars easily. Next book I read was The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman, and this is one of those books that I feel like everyone and they mama and they grandmama and they granddaddy and they great auntie and they neighbor and they helper need to read in their life. By now I feel like we all know about the 5 love languages, and they are words of affirmation, acts of service, quality time, physical touch, and receiving gifts. So if you haven't taken the 5 love languages quiz, what are you doing? Basically, the basis of this book is how we can't love people or love our partners specifically in our love language. Like, you have to love your partner or love whoever in their love language. So my love language, or my top 2 love languages I should say, are quality time and physical touch. Literally, receiving gifts is the lowest one on my love language list. So if someone came into my life and all they did was shower me with gifts, gifts upon gifts upon gifts upon gifts, but they didn't spend time with me and they wouldn't hold my hand, then I'm just looking at them like, what are you doing? You know, that type of thing. But whereas if their love language is receiving gifts and I gift that person all the time, like, they feel the most loved by receiving gifts, you know what I mean? So yeah, basically everyone needs to read this book. I literally recommended it to a married uncle of mine. That's how good it is. This specific version is about love languages in terms of marriage, but you can apply love languages in friendships, in the relationships with your siblings, like any relationship. Basically, it doesn't have to be romantic. They work and they make so much sense, and when you read this is when you're just like, oh, you know, like, it makes so much sense. Like, I knew about the 5 love languages and everything, but after reading the book, it just puts everything into so much more like perspective, I should say, and it makes so much sense. I think I rated this 4 stars out of 5 just because there's some things that he said that I didn't quite agree with. Basically, he gives examples of like couples who he's worked with and counseled before. Some of like the solutions he was giving them, I'm just like, I wouldn't do that. Otherwise, the concept of the book is so good. Actually, like 4.5 out of 5 stars. After the 5 love languages, the next book I read, or listened to, was Bamboozled by Jesus by Yvonne Orji. And I know I said the thing with audiobooks is I'd be zoning out, but oh my goodness, with Yvonne, I did not zone out, not one bit. She is so funny, she is so engaging, she's an amazing storyteller, and I was literally entertained and engaged the entire 6.5 hours I listened to the book. It was so good and literally exactly what I needed to hear at this point in my life. I feel like I mentioned that in every video, but like, the season of my life that I'm in, I have never treaded these waters before, okay? This is brand new. I'm still trying to figure things out, and basically she just explains her story to success, like her climb to success, the highs, the lows, the in-betweens, like when she felt like she wasn't doing enough, when she just felt like throwing in the towel, and child, I feel like that almost every day, okay? And it was just exactly what I needed to hear to keep me going, especially being in like the same sort of industry, like being a creative and all that. It's like, it's literally exactly what I needed to hear at this exact moment in time. If I had read it before, I wouldn't have resonated with it. Maybe if I read it a bit after, still I wouldn't have, but to some extent I was probably going to be able to be like, oh yeah, I went through that. But right now, it made like the most perfect sense for me to read right now is what I'm getting at, and it was so good. 5 stars easily. And the last book I'm gonna talk about in this video is this one that I'm currently reading. It's called The Spanish Love Deception. I'm only barely into it, so there's not much I can say about it, but I'll probably review it in another video I make, maybe one of these again later on in the year. So far so okay, I should say. This author's writing style isn't like Colleen Hoover's at all. It's not as captivating and engaging, but we're getting there. The story's like kinda, you know, it's going. So yeah, that's what I'm currently reading right now, and it's romance fiction. Okay, so we have made it to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. I will appreciate it, and the algorithm will appreciate it. So yeah, follow me on Goodreads if you don't already. It's just easier there to see what I'm reading, and I can give like little reviews on what I'm reading and all of that, and I get to see what you guys are reading as well. But yeah, don't forget that thumbs up again, share this video with someone, and of course subscribe. Yes, you watching this, please subscribe. Don't just watch, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.